as we know, the COVID-19 pandemic has made it necessary for us to shelter in place and for us to accordingly host Crown Forum online. So this is the expression of Crown Forum online, Crown Forum Conversations. I'm very pleased today to be in conversation with one of my brothers, a graduate of Morehouse College, 1996, Department of Psychology, Dr. Alduan Tartt, who is a clinical psychologist who practices in Georgia. You might have seen him in media spaces, across media spaces, helping people get their minds right. And that's kind of what we're hoping we can be in conversation about today, being centered and kind of negotiating the ebbs and flows of what's going on in the world today and still being successful and sustained in the midst of it all. So Dr. Tartt, thank you so much for joining us today, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dr. Rice. I'm glad to be here, brother.
Oh man, it's a gift. It's a gift. So a lot of this conversation is really, of course, we're in these uncharted and unprecedented times. And the Student Government Association at Morehouse College was really proactive in terms of kind of surveying the student population and figuring out kind of what's going on. And the results, the faculty was able to see those results over the last couple of weeks. And we were really sobered by what was going on. And of course, there are things that are going on all over the country where people, kind of most importantly, are losing family members. They're losing family members. They're shifted into different contexts. So they're at home at times that they wouldn't typically be home under even greater stressors. They're looking after younger siblings while parents are still having to go to work and pay the bills, or they're taking care of parents who have fallen ill or who are ill as the result of COVID-19, or looking after older parents. There are all kinds of things that are going on. And I just kind of wanted to get a sense from you, how do we help us fix it? How do we do that? But I just wanted to be in conversation around those things. So I guess, first of all, how do we deal with these uncertain times?
Well, one, I think it's important for us to realize that lean on your faith. I'm just going to be honest, is that we've been here before. So this is a choice. Now, we know that we're a school that's based on the foundation of God. And so when we start looking at like Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope and for a future, not to harm you." All right. And so when we start looking at that, if you study that scripture, all right, if you study that scripture, it is important to note that that was during the time of exile in Babylon. Now, why does that apply to you, whether you have a faith background or not? Is that it was saying that there's a possibility for you to prosper even during a time where there is suffering. All right. And so how you think about this is going to be important. So in psychology, if you've taken classes from your professors, you've heard about reframing, you've heard about optimism. This is where you have to lean on this. And so what you have to do is that you have to be sure that you're thinking about this the right way. But first of all, let me normalize it. If you're not experiencing some form of anxiety or some form of adjustment, you're not human. So first of all, go ahead and be okay with the fact that this is the new normal. This is not what you're used to. This is not what you signed up for. You didn't sign up to Morehouse to take online classes. The professors didn't know this was coming. The school didn't know this was coming. But at Morehouse, that's what we're built for. We are built to make adjustments. We are built to be resilient. We are built to lead when things are falling around or behind us. That is why we are Morehouse men. So the first thing is to realize that this is a new normal. The second thing is the strength of a Morehouse man is his ability to think. And that is unconditional, regardless of the circumstances. So we have to figure out how we can prosper in this scenario.
So what does that mean? I appreciate that. What does it mean to prosper? Because, kind of operationalizing, normalizing that, right? So prospering, does that mean that I'm still making 4.0? I'm not on the track team anymore, but I'm taking laps around the neighborhood. I'm still getting this job. I want to manage a hedge fund as I get older. I mean, what does that look like? There's such shifting times. What does prospering look like right now?
All right, you ask tough questions. I mean, let's be realistic. Listen, you're still in school. You still pay for this. You're still gonna get grades. The next graduate institution, medical school, law school, job, they're still gonna see these grades. All right. So you have a decision to make, students. Are you going to prosper in this time? Are you going to blame the times for your grades dropping? All right. And so if you make the decision, so this gives you the empowering decision to choose to prosper versus to be a victim. Okay, so this is learned industriousness versus learned helplessness. Learned helplessness says there's nothing I can do. The school is closed to me physically. I am back home with my parents. I am back home, maybe in a hotel up the street. At Morehouse, I know we funded a lot of students that were displaced. This is the worst case scenario from a studying standpoint. Do I just give up? Do I start looking for the advantages? Hey, you know what? I can start figuring this out at home. I can start looking up different things. There are some advantages to online learning for me. This is an opportunity for me to be able to show what I'm really made of. I'm actually finding myself to have a different experience with my professors because I'm able to Zoom them or text them or call them and be able to have more interaction with them. And so if you look at it as a decision, you can feel empowered, because while you can't change the circumstances of the inside world, you can have what's called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is, how can I help myself? So that's the first question. What can I do to help myself in this uncertain time? Notice I said, what can I do? Not if I can, because you don't have a choice. So that's the first thing, is to be able to reframe and change your mindset to a prosperous one. All right. So another way to look at it is there's this word called paranoia. So paranoia says the world is conspiring against me. All right. As soon as I get to Morehouse, here this happened. This hasn't happened in history of, it has happened actually, but this hasn't happened in a long time. Why my time? Why me? See, I can't win for losing. All right. You're going to feel depressed. You're going to feel anxious. You're going to feel helpless, and your grades are going to drop. All right. But if you look at it and flip that word to another word called pronoia, pronoia means the world is conspiring for my success. For my success. So that means, all right, how can I make these online classes? How can I make, and I have a student I'm working with, how can I do Glee Club online and sing for my professor? Just like we're talking right now. How can I make this work for me? So how you frame your mind is going to be important to you, brother. So I think that's very important for you to know, to have self-efficacy versus having learned helplessness.
So what are steps to that if you've been kind of knocked on your heels? And I'll give you a little bit of an example. I mean, I think one of the things that's important for students to know is that we're all human beings. And like you've said, these are times of anxiety. So if you're not having any anxiety around this new definition of normalcy, then you're not plugged in, in perhaps healthy ways, right? So one of the things that I've, started to do is, obviously I'm still teaching classes. I have responsibilities at the college, but there's this compounded necessity for me to attend to my kids, right? So I have a 12-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I've got to do reading with the 5-year-old. I've got to check in with the older son. One of the things that I did a couple of weeks ago that kind of took me back is I said, okay, I'm going to do some engineering stuff. I'm just going to put some stuff together with Lego with my younger son. And for some reason that gave me such calm. And what I did was I ordered, of course I didn't need to do all this, but I ordered a Lego one that you could control with your phone. And I'm in the middle of putting that together now. That created some type of rhythm of meditation, of centering, that allowed me to take some deep breaths. Are there other either activities or I don't want to say tricks. Are there activities or methods that we might use to kind of help us center before we start kind of building on how do I use this time to be innovative in my interactions with people and interactions with school? are there some base things that I can do, breathing techniques or reading, or what are some things that I might be able to do to help center myself so that I can look at that pronoia? Is that what you said? Pronoia,
Yeah,
right?
pronoia.
Yeah.
All right, all right. So what we're talking about is learn optimism, and I'm challenging you, brothers, to be able. Can you work at your highest level in difficult circumstances? So the first thing you have to do is challenge yourself with a question. From the research, this works even better than affirmations. All right. So affirmations work, but what works even better than affirmations is asking yourself a challenging positive question. Can I thrive during a challenging situation? Who am I as a person? Can I rise to the call? So first of all, you challenge yourself. Another thing that you can do is begin the day with prayer, meditation, focusing, and grounding yourself. The reality is that there are those that have found the new normal and have very little to no anxiety. There are those that have high anxiety, and believe it or not, there are those who are actually thriving in this environment because they found a way to be able to prosper. So you have to be able to meditate and be able to control your mind. But what this is also going to do, because it's a lot of it is breath work, is going to actually allow you to be able to decrease your anxiety because you're controlling your heart rate, because you're controlling the way that you think. You are grounding yourself. You are focusing yourself. All right. Now, I'll tell you what works for me. All right. It's exercise. Exercise is an empowerment hack. Why? Because it produces endorphins. Endorphins are what? We know those are painkillers. So if you wake up in the morning and you get in movement, so if you're in movement, you can control the movement. So many of you should be jogging. You should be exercising. You should be doing some type of cardiovascular exercise routine in the morning. You see so many executives and so many people who are the top 5%. They swear by exercise, and here's why. It is giving you empowerment in the morning. Not only is it giving you a better brain, it's not only is it giving you a better physiology, not only just be practical, is it giving you a better immune system because you're moving your white blood cells, it is also psychologically making you feel like you are in movement. All right. So you may wake up in the morning because you don't have to necessarily be in physical class and find yourself procrastinating or find yourself needing a jolt to be able to get into gear. All right. Start your day with exercise. Now you're in movement. The brain is in movement. And now you can follow that trend and you're going to be more empowered. Also, the benefit of exercise. And also, I'm going to give you video games, although I know that can go left. All right. So if you're stressed, if you play video games or you play anything that distracts you, whether that's reading, whether that's watching something, if you can do that for 10 to 15 minutes, and get distracted from your stress, it's going to lower your stress level. So if you're sitting around thinking about, oh man, how am I going to do this? How am I going to study when I'm back home and it's loud and everyone's here and I don't have access to the library? I don't have access to the things that I have on campus. I'm a chemistry major with no chemistry lab. I'm a biology major with no biology lab. I'm in psychology. I can't do these experiments. If, I'm doing these things at home, having to figure this out. All right. This allows you to be able to find new ways and be more innovative in figuring those things out by moving in your body. Because what we know is the body unlocks the mind. The mind does not necessarily unlock the body. So if you can just get your body moving, then your mind will be unlocked. And we know that when it comes to trauma. A lot of the work that we do with trauma victims has to do with giving them control over their bodies via yoga, via meditation, via exercise. Because once they feel empowered over the part of their body that was violated, then they're able to move forward from a psychological standpoint. And so here, you've been displaced. Things have changed. But what can you control? Being in movement every day. If you're in movement every day, then you can get back into your study habits and you can find a way to make it work.
So helpful. I appreciate that. So talk to me. Okay, so we've gotten this. We've gotten kind of this psychology, and we know that the psychology and the spirituality are so connected. I mean, we see so many of us within the discipline of psychology really bending and connecting the spirit to the psyche, right? And knowing, from whence the word psyche comes and all. So talk to me a little bit about this idea of faith and being at least spiritually grounded. And I know you led with that. And I know that for some, it might be a bit off-putting, right? let's say that folks aren't ascribing to the kind of this Judeo-Christian orientation, but still there's something important about faith, about meditation, about believing in the greater good, and in believing in kind of the centering of health and of wellness. Can you talk to me about the importance of faith, especially in the midst of some things that might just be going wild? So, I mean, it's relatively easy for those who have not been touched intimately by COVID-19 to say, all right, well, somebody might be saying to the two of us, well, you guys look like, you're in your office, Dr. Rice, you look good to go with books behind you and you're still doing this. But the idea is that my mother is sick with COVID-19 and my uncle just passed. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry to hear that.
And how do you deal? No. Let me be very clear.
Okay.
Not me. I'm saying that somebody rhetorically. Let me be clear. But that has happened, right? So that has happened to some folks, to students that I've talked to, and so they might say, well, I hear all that, but how are you able to kind of center self and look for faith even in this kind of the catastrophe of it all?
That's a great question. So I want to meet you where you are. I'm not here to convert you. I want to have a real conversation with you, and I want you to find a way, whatever connects with you, to be able to have the strongest mental approach to this, the strongest psychological approach to this, to be able to work, not only make this semester work for you, but to make life work for you. And for you not only to learn this, to be able to teach this to your families and the people who are dependent upon you. All right. So let's go back to old-fashioned cognitive behavioral therapy. All right. So this is a treatment. This is the treatment that we give when you have depression, treatment when it comes to anxiety, treatment when it comes to stress. So let me break it down for you briefly. All right. So imagine a triangle in your mind. Okay. And at the bottom of this triangle is an event. This event for us is going to be COVID-19. Okay. So here's an event you can't control. This event happens in your life. So this event is connected on the upward end of a triangle to a thought, okay? And you can choose to think positively or negatively about this event. It is a decision. It is a choice. It is a habit. It is a style. You get to choose. So how you think about this, positively or negatively, on the downward part of this triangle is connected to how you feel, all right? So how you feel. And if we extend that triangle out, that feeling is connected to how you behave. All right, so let's do a working example of this, okay? Because at the top, you're going to be able to see optimism. You're going to be able to see faith. All right, so at the top, event happens. COVID-19 happens. Morehouse College closes. The events in your life occur. You have to respond. You don't have a choice. Now, you can think positively or negatively about that event. All right, a negative thought is like, how am I going to learn away from campus? How am I going to deal with life? How am I going to make this work in my life? How am I going to be able to sing and do, if I'm a music major, on the internet? How am I going to make chemistry work, biology work? How am I going to do this? How am I going to make this work? All right. So that negative thought is connected to how you feel. Now you feel depressed. Now you feel anxious. Now you feel helpless. Now you might even feel robbed. Some of you might feel, I feel robbed of my education. I feel robbed of my chance. I worked all this time to get here, and I feel robbed of my senior year. I feel robbed of my junior year.
Right.
How are you going to behave? All right. So if you link to that in behavior, you might not do your work. You might start drinking. You might start smoking. You might start unhealthy habits. You might start just saying, just forget it. But if we go back to the top of this triangle and we find, and you're going to have to find the positives. You're going to have to find the positives in this. And you search for optimism, you search for faith. Is it possible for me to prosper in this situation? Is it possible for me to be able to lock down and study harder as a result of this? Is it possible for me to maybe be home? I'm actually glad to be home to look out after my mother, because my mother needed me, because my brothers and sisters were still going to go outside. Is it possible that God knows where I am, or whatever belief system? Is it possible that the universe, is it possible, law of attraction, wherever you want to go, is it possible for times like this that there's an actual positive? Maybe I'm here to help out my parents. Maybe I'm here to look after my brothers and sisters. Maybe I'm supposed to be home right now because that is the better place for me to be, all things considered. All right, well, how's that going to make you feel? It's going to make you feel grateful. I'm glad I'm here with my little brothers and sisters going through. I'd rather be here versus at Morehouse versus my mom or my grandpa having to go through this. Now, maybe if they have COVID-19, I'm able to actually care for them. Or maybe I'm able to bring in some money for some things that I know how to do online. Coding is still happening. Programming is still happening. Online jobs are still happening. You have that ingenuity. Maybe you're bringing in money for your family to provide. Maybe you're the glue. And so if you find that, now you're going to behave differently. So you have to be able to lean on how you think, your optimism and faith, however you want to look at it. What we know is that optimists make better everything. Optimists make better professors. Optimists make better sales reps. Optimists make better for wellness. Optimists make better husbands. Optimists make better parents. Optimists make better leaders. All right. So you have to be able to find the positive in this dark cloud. This is the essence of resiliency. This is how you handle stress. If we look at like former President Obama, he has to be able to handle a storm. If we look at you as leaders right now, this is the positive. Is this building my resiliency? What we know is that the world's most successful people have this one quality: grittiness. They are resilient. It's not about talent, it's about resiliency. And I do a lot of work for the NBA, and it's by no chance that most of the players in the NBA are resilient. They're not stressed by what's happening on the court. They've been through everything under the sun. So now that they figure out a way to make this happen. So my challenge to you, Morehouse students, is, are you gritty? We know you come from all types of circumstances. We know that we are based on being gritty. Our forefathers are gritty. The men that are Morehouse men, they're gritty and resilient. Find the ability to work through this in your mind and then operate.
That's so good.
But that is based on your faith. Do y'all get it? How can I prosper in this? All right, I'll give you a quick example and then I'll throw it back. So I'm a psychologist. So here this comes. I'm seeing clients. How in the world are we going to be able to do this? How in the world am I going to be able to parent two daughters? I have a 13-year-old and a 3-year-old. All right. A wife at home that just transitioned out of corporate America into entrepreneurship 1 month before this hit. Bills are still coming in. And here my practice has stopped because I can't see clients. If they can't come in, how do I make money? All right. Right. So I'm thinking negative. Oh, I could be anxious. I could be depressed. I could be mad. I could be stressed out. I could go home, yell at my wife, yell at my kids, drink, smoke, cheat, all kind of things. Right. But if I go back to this faith thing, to this optimism thing, and say, all right, positive. You know what? There is this thing called telehealth. We've been lobbying for telehealth as psychologists for years. All of a sudden, the insurance panel opens that up. We're mobilizing. All right. They open it up. Telehealth. Every client now prefers telehealth to coming in because it's saving them gas during this COVID. I don't want COVID. They don't want COVID. And they're actually calling in. Guess what? Business is up. Business is up because not only can I see clients in Georgia, I'm seeing clients in California. I'm seeing clients in different countries. I'm seeing clients all over. Why? Because everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has a laptop. So we're actually increased our capacity to serve while being here in my office where no one is. And so now I'm able to, I feel inspired. Now I'm doing online courses because I realize people want more. Business is up. My ability to help is up. My ability to stand in the gap and serve as a Morehouse man, helping the people, has actually expanded. It is expanded. Why? Because I chose to lean on faith and I chose to look at the positive because I can't change the outside circumstances. So I have to lean on self-efficacy and look at what can I do in this time to pivot and change to prosper.
That is so good. So that is so good. Thank you. And I think that personal effect is so helpful for so many, I imagine, to be able to talk about that personal narrative. So thank you for that. Let me ask you this. What about, we talk about prospering in difficult times. We talk about this mentality of optimism. Can you tell me where purpose plays there? Because in your narrative that you just offered, it seems like purpose might be the glue that gets you, but that connects between optimism and this prospering. And I think that might be something that a lot of our students in particular might be able to lean on, this because you came to Morehouse in some way, form, or fashion motivated by some type of purpose. So can you talk about how that might play?
I mean, Dr. Rice, you're asking a personal story. So I'm going to lean in a little bit. My first 3 weeks at Morehouse, I had a friend by the name of Oshari Diallo who was shot and murdered in my car, victim of a drive-by shooting while we were attending a Morehouse summer program. I was part of Summer Science Institute, and he was shot and killed, just a senseless shooting. And at that time, when we lost my good friend Oshari, who was only 15, child prodigy, starting as a freshman at 15 years old, he was the truth. He was an extremely brilliant, talented young brother. God spoke to me and said, "You lost one, but you will save many." I was already a psychology major, but it told me now, and I'm resonating with you all because I know many of you come from environments where you've seen trauma, where you have, if you're a biology major, you have seen maybe a family member not be cared for. You want to be the one to come in and be able to say, "I'm going to find a way to help you. I'm going to find a way to employ this entire block. I'm going to find a way through my brain to create a business that is going to put food on the table." So a sense of purpose here. Sense of purpose for me is to be able to serve in less than ideal circumstances. Less than ideal circumstances. I'm not here to work when things are pretty. I wish I had the luxury to say I can't help because the world is crumbling around. I have to look around and say, as a psychologist, well, if I don't help them, who's going to help them? And you're going to find as Morehouse men, the answer is going to be you. The answer to a problem is often a Morehouse man. And so you have to be able to lean on your purpose and say, am I built for this? For such a time as this? Is this why I'm resilient? Is this teaching me resiliency? Is this teaching me how to innovate, Morehouse? Let's be real. If you're coming out into the world's not going to be perfect. All right? You're going to be leaders of companies. How do you help them navigate this without laying off staff? How do I do this without laying off my receptionists? They have food on. I wish I had the luxury. I wish I had the luxury just to give up. But when you have a sense of purpose and saying, I want to stand in the gap, I want to be the answer to the problem. And I can tell you, this is what Morehouse staff, faculty, and alumni, we are built for this. We want to figure out how we re-engineer things to make things better for you. And what do we need? Your voice. What do we need? Your innovation. And what do we need? We need to be able to partner. So finding a sense of purpose in all of this is going to help you to cope. And it's also going to activate you. I mean, as you can see, I have a lot of passion for this. I am excited about this time. Why? Because I'm excited about being able to help every single person that I can be able to cope with loss, be able to cope with a job loss, be able to cope with having a parent and work at the same time, being able to have to work, make things work, and they need that support. So I'm glad that I can serve and just be able to help and support. That is what we're supposed to do. So that purpose has been intensified for me. And I'm glad, like many of our frontline workers, that I can support. You have to find your sense of purpose. Why is this happening? And then find the positive reason.
That's so good, man. So I think I really just wanted a snapshot there. I think that is so helpful. I don't want to take you away. I know that you shuffled things around for us. I know that Morehouse is very, very important to you and is central, and it's demonstrated in how accessible you are. Is there anything you want to kind of leave students with or the community with as we begin to close?
Yeah, I just want to first of all understand that I understand that we're in challenging times, and you're not here by mistake. This didn't happen by mistake. And my prayer and my hope and my challenge for you is to really sit down and to figure out how you can prosper through this, how you can find prosperity through your pain. And by prosperity is how I can grow, how I can make this work. I want you to partner with other Morehouse brothers. I think it's a mistake to try to figure this out and cope alone. I want you to be setting up Zoom calls. I want you to be FaceTiming your brothers in your classes and your major brothers that you lean on, and say, can we figure out how do we do this? What can we create to be able to help other brothers, to be able to help ourselves, and to be able to help the world as a result of this? And also make sure that you lean on the college. If you need someone to be able to talk to, you need someone to be able to support you or your family members, because I understand things are difficult. This is not all rosy. I'm not coming at you like this is a Disney movie, but I am challenging you to be able to maintain your mental wellness by taking care of yourself, the self-care we talked about, by being able to reframe, by being able to find your sense of purpose, and to get the necessary support you need to work through this.
Brother, you're the best. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the work you're doing and for making time for us. And thank you for centering your purpose and your optimism. It really is it's a light to all of us. Thank you, brother.
No, I'm humbled to serve. Anything I can do for you, brothers, just let me know.
All right, man. Thank you.
Dear old Morehouse, dear old Morehouse, we have pledged our